It's cold. Morning. It is a beautiful day here in central Virginia as I am driving down through the Shenandoah Valley. Van's all packed up and we're going to drive south on Route 81 into North Carolina. So enjoy the ride. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why is the guy that's proclaiming to live in a van in a hotel room? Number one. Number two, does this man ever change his clothes? To answer your first question, it's still very cold. I'm in Mount Airy, North Carolina, and I have decided to stay in a hotel again for the second night just because when it gets below 40 degrees, my camping battery does not work. It does, well, that's a lie. It does work, but it's not very efficient, and it tends to draw more power than I like. So I think it's more suited for warmer type weather. Number two, the fuel that I use for my camping stove is butane, and below 40 degrees, my butane will not light, so I have no way of cooking. So I have decided to bite the bullet and take some money out of the budget for a few days just to stay in a hotel. Not this hotel for several days, but several hotels over a few days anyway. At least until I get farther south and it's a little bit more comfortable to sleep in. Today it was rather warm. It was actually about 60 degrees. However, right now it is 35 degrees. So doable, but not the most comfortable considering that my fuel won't light and my battery will be working extra hard. So, number two, to answer your question, I do not change my clothes. Or it may seem that way. The great thing about living in a van and traveling from place to place is that you meet new people every day, and they have no idea if you're wearing the same clothes or not from the day before. So, just kidding. I love this hoodie. I wear it a lot, but because it is getting warmer, I probably will start wearing t-shirts. But also I want to not do laundry every few days. I'd like to do one load of laundry every week at a laundromat. So I'm just waiting. I do have other clothes. I'm just waiting to get the most use out of these. So, little recap for the past 2 days. Yesterday I left my parents' house in Chester County, Pennsylvania. From there I drove through Baltimore and then through central Maryland, where I picked up I-81, and then I took that south into West Virginia, and then I drove through Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, eventually through Virginia, and then which took me into some back mountain country roads in the panhandle of Western Virginia, which is where I stopped at Seneca Rocks. That's something that I've been wanting to see for a while. It's this, they're called fins, these exposed rock faces that come out of the Appalachian Mountains in certain parts. And this particular fin was part of a state park, and there's a trail that you can take that takes you to the top to a platform. It's about a mile, and it's not the longest hike I've ever taken, but it was definitely very strenuous, and it was definitely very challenging, and there were a few times where I had to stop and take a few breaks. I was fortunate that there wasn't a lot of people there, but I made it to the top, and I took some pretty awesome photos. It was a little bit tough. You can't climb onto the rock because I guess a lot of people have died trying to climb up there, so they've kind of just sectioned that area off. So really, just from the platform, you can view the rocks. From there, I hiked back down, and then I drove about 2 hours south deep into the Shenandoah Valley. I spent the night in Harrisonburg, Virginia, at a little motel. It was very nice. I actually slept really well, which, you know, I'm fortunate. Had a nice breakfast this morning at Subway. I drove about 3 hours, continuing on I-81 south into North Carolina, and then I ended up in this beautiful little town called Mount Airy. Now, Mount Airy is Andy Griffith's hometown. And if you're not familiar with Andy Griffith, he had a TV show back in the mid to early 60s called The Andy Griffith Show. And it's a classic. It's a great black and white type sitcom. It centers around this sheriff, and he's raising his young son with his older Aunt Bee, and he has a goofy deputy, and it's just a really great show. A lot of really great lessons to learn and things to take away from that show. The reason why I wanted to come here is because me and my grandparents used to watch this show when I was a kid. So it has a very sentimental place in my heart. Since their passing, this has kind of brought me back to growing up around them and spending time with them, because this was one of the few shows that my grandmother laughed at. She actually found it funny. Not that she didn't find other things funny, but we laughed along with each other to that show, and it was really nice to kind of put some names to landmarks. As you saw, I saw the Andy Griffith Museum, which had a lot of artifacts from the show, a lot of props from the show, some scripts. It also talked about his early life, and I did not know this, but he was quite an actor. I mean, he did the Andy Griffith Show, and a lot of people know him from Matlock as well, which was a murder mystery type show in the late 80s. But he actually did a lot of acting, and so that was pretty surprising to learn. But this area kind of centers around this fictional town called Mayberry, Mayberry, USA, which is kind of modeled after Mount Airy, North Carolina. and there's a few local landmarks, Snappy Lunch, the barbershop. Tomorrow I'm going to go see the recreated jail and courthouse. I think it's more of a touristy type thing, but this town's really cool. There's a couple nice little restaurants and a bunch of souvenir stores where you can buy anything you can think of from the Andy Griffith Show. So a really, really cool town. But I am tuckered out. Been a pretty long day of driving, but tomorrow I will be heading on the road relatively early. Tomorrow I think it'll be about a 4-hour driving day to Asheville, North Carolina. And then from there I should be hopefully in some warmer weather. And 2, I should be exploring the Biltmore Estates. So I'm pretty excited about that one. So thank you again for your support. I've gotten a lot of new followers and new subscribers. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't believe I'm doing this 2 days in. It's very exciting. So hopefully I can keep the momentum up. And thank you for sticking it out to the end of another video. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.